All right, so I'm changing again because now we're kind of into the last piece of this story, which is like the end of my parents' story and then my relationship with my ex. So I left off, my mom has reunited with my dad. I've moved up to NorCal, started my job, and um, you know, I don't know this at the time, but my mom's kind of undergoing treatment. She doesn't explicitly say this at any point, so just kind of keep that in mind. I don't really understand like how dire the situation is or isn't. In the meantime, I am just fresh out of a situationship and back in dating, and what I really left with that relationship was like this like intense feeling of like not being worthy of love and like really wanting to find someone that was going to fight for me to be in their lives and really wanted to be with me. And so I ended up, my housemates at the time created started a dating profile for me and kind of encouraged me to like go out and date and meet and greet people. And so I ended up talking to a couple of people. I don't get a lot of matches. This is very early on in like online dating, and so like it's actually like on a computer. You have to log into a website and like basically email people or like message them and it sends an email. Like this is before like the apps. I don't think Tinder really even existed at this point. So yeah, it's very much like OG online dating. And at this point, like I really want a healthy relationship. I finished my psychology degree, which I think means that I understand relationships and I know all the things to look out for. I've like analyzed my parents' relationship. I really understand the dynamic that's going on there that's really unhealthy, and so I feel like I'm pretty well equipped to find someone that's not going to be a bad dynamic for me. And there are quite a few people that I weed out pretty quickly that are asking for like photos, or one guy was like super nice up front and then he like completely blew up on me and was like criticizing me, and I was like block immediately. So like I'm doing fairly decent at being able to like navigate and determine like safety and unsafety when it's very blatant. Where I don't do well is the subtlety, and that is the piece that ultimately gets me in a lot of trouble down the line. But we're not there yet. So yeah, I think at this point my mom is back home, my dad are in this kind of honeymoon phase, and so my dad's kind of like backed off a little bit and is leaving me alone. One of the things I didn't mention is that when I graduated, my dad had basically bought a car for me, and I'm thinking, woo, yay, an actual gift that's going to help me on my journey. And then 2 months in, he lets me know that like he's just paying for it for now, and then I need to get a job, and ultimately this is going to be my bill and responsibility. A car that I didn't get to pick or choose to decide what I wanted is now going to be my financial responsibility. And I'm like, great, this is the best gift ever. So I'm kind of glad that he's leaving me alone at this point, because I'm not really happy about how all that went down. And we've kind of had some tips over like finances too, where I'm glad that he's leaving me alone. So I'm working at an elementary school. I'm trying to like date. I'm trying to like still have some social time with friends that live in the area. And I think one of the things that's really important to know about this time is that as these dating companies were starting to do research to validate them, like what was in the news mostly was kind of like research around like women and popularity, and a lot of the research at the time was like overwhelmingly glaring that like Black women in particular were not getting as many hits or requests for dates as, you know, women of other ethnicities. I think Asian women was like the top, and like Asian men were the low end for men. So this is also in the back of my mind as I'm dating, and it's also been my experience throughout like my college journey that I wasn't necessarily the person that got a lot of attention. Mind you, I'm not necessarily unattractive. Like, I am, you know, very thin, fit, active. My job is to do recess training, so I'm literally running around with kids all day. So it's not that I was unattractive. I want to make that very clear. It's just that at that time, like, society-wise, like, Black women were not valued, and that also was a burden that I had put on myself too, and that, yeah, I'm not going to have a lot of options is basically what I was internalizing. Now, is that true? No, it's not true, and I think we know better, right? Just having a lot of options does not necessarily mean that you have good options, right? So I think I just wanted to share because like that really like helps also illustrate the mindset that I was in as I was meeting people. And so the first person that I actually liked enough to go on a date with was my ex. And this is also fresh off of this situationship where I was feeling very unchosen and, you know, designated as unworthy of love, right? And so to have someone who was like very much like, no, I like you, I want to see you, like, I want to go on dates with you, I want to be around you, like, was actually really refreshing for me. And like it actually was a very attractive trait initially, right? I wasn't necessarily looking at all the other pieces about this person, but I did like that he was very clear and intentional, like, no, I want to spend time with you, I like you, and, you know, I want to be around you. So at this point I'm dating, I'm kind of in this relationship, and my housing situation is falling apart. We ended up moving as a housemate unit to a different location because our landlord, you know, it was kind of a slum landlord situation type deal. So we ended up moving to another place altogether and getting a third housemate at this new place. And then that situation kind of fell apart. So I'm very early on in dating with my ex. He's very much like, I want to take care of you, I want to support you, I want to help you. My family situation is still kind of a mess. As I mentioned, my dad hadn't been working this whole time. It was kind of on and off getting disability. My mom's only working part-time. They're kind of in a crazy kind of thing right now with my mom just kind of coming back home. And yeah, I'm kind of like also feeling this pressure to be financially independent because I know my dad uses financial pieces to manipulate me and my time and energy, right? And so all of this seemed very appealing. Like, here comes this person who really cares about me, wants to help me, wants to support me, wants to be there for me, really seems to like and enjoy my company. Like, it seemed like a no-brainer, right? And so we ended up getting a place together separately, and this is like maybe 7 months after we started dating, we got a place together. Now, for him, he still lived at home with his parents, and so like this wasn't necessarily going to be his full-time residence. It was kind of like a part-time thing for him. Like, it was my space, he made that very clear. It was my space, and he was just helping support me financially until like I got on my feet. And for me, it was like, you know, like finally a relationship where like someone wants to be with me, wants to help me, wants to support me, and like really sees like me. And keep in mind, like I have been struggling a lot throughout this time, right? Like I didn't have a stable family life. And here I was at 22, just fresh out of college with, all of the college debt that I still had to pay off. Even though I had scholarships, I still had a good amount of financial aid that I had to pay back. And so, and plus a car bill that, a car that I didn't even get to pick out. So I had a lot of burdens, and I needed to kind of get my life together really quickly. And like, it was just refreshing to have someone that wanted to help and like really saw and cared about me, or so I thought. So 7 months in, we have a place together. And so this is maybe about a year and a half after that. Like things are going good. Like I'm not going back home, right? Like it's very clear I've moved out, I have my own place. I'm not really going back to SoCal to visit my family. And I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible because of A, the travel anxiety, and B, like I honestly was very resentful of my mom for going back. Even with the treatment, I didn't know what the treatment was, right? But at this point, a year or so later, she's starting to, again, only talk to me when my dad's not around, and kind of sharing of how he's been up yelling at her and, criticizing her again. And it's kind of the same old story, right? And I'm kind of frustrated at this point because what does she expect? Right? This is not the first time he's told this story. And I'm just like not wanting any part of it. So that brings us to about 2014, and we'll talk about 2014 in the next chapter.